Hi, I'm Leslie Munoz, and welcome to my course. Hi, I'm Leslie, and in this video I'm going to show you guys a different variation of a handstand, which is an arch. But I'm going to show you guys how to start stretching your arch and just different ways of doing it, and possibly even doing your arch but using your shoulder flexibility and kind of seeing what feels right for you. So I would start with the warm-up, and then I'd jump into something like this. So I would stretch my back a little bit more because it takes a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more stretching and time to do an arch. So I would actually kind of start further back instead of doing like the proper handstand, and you'll kind of see why right now. So I kick, reach the wall, keeping my back in right now, but then I'm gonna kind of try to reach my butt to the wall and then bring it back. Stretching your back and strengthening it. And then what I like to do, you can take a break if you'd like, but what I'd do is I'd walk it out just a little further and then arch. Doesn't have to go that far. And then bring it back up. Just open up your legs, arch, and bring it back up. It does not have to go that far. So even if you feel it here, hold it there, and then bring it back up. And if you like to use your shoulders, you can do the same exact thing, which I'm demonstrating to you right now, but instead of dropping your legs, try to move your weight out and into your shoulders versus your back. Personally, I like to use my back because, I don't know, now I'm so used to using my back, but if you're learning and you don't know whether you want to use your back flexibility or your shoulder, here's a good way of trying to find out which one does work for you. So here, sorry, I need to go a little further. So here, and then pushing your shoulders back. And then bringing it back up. Mine is not very far because I don't use my shoulders, I use my back. So pushing your shoulders back, and then bringing it back up. I know it's very minimal, but that's okay. That's where I feel it, and you might go that far if you're using your back, and I go that far when I'm using my shoulder, and that's okay. Everyone is different. So that's just the very basic, pushing back and forth, kind of figuring out what you want to use or what works for you. Now, if you've never tried an elbow stand, this is a good place to start because you have the wall to stop you from falling forward until you kind of figure out which one does work for you. And a lot of back bend and being upside down is a lot of breathing. So really focus on not holding your breath and just really feeling the stretch and enjoy it. And don't try to rush into something else. If you need to stop at any point, just stop. It's okay. Breathe. But every movement, big and deep breaths. So elbow stand, and just try, if you'd like to use one leg and then kick, you can do that. Or you can just, whichever way you're far getting into it. So the same thing. And then I like to drop one knee and touch and come back. One down and come back. So even if you feel comfortable going here and bringing it back, that's okay too. Focus on your breathing here. So touch and then come back. Touch and come back. Good. And then come down. With your elbow stand, you kind of want to push through your shoulders as much as you can. I know that it's a little awkward there, but don't let your shoulders sink in. Keep pushing them out. With this one, I'm going to try to look at the wall as much as I can, or if not down, because you wouldn't do a handstand facing that way. you would look either down or forward. So the same thing you want to do in your oboe stand, because this is like the step before the handstand, and figuring out what kind of pose you want to do, or just really warming up your back. So the same thing, focus on your head and your breathing. So I'm looking up. Good, and just breathe. Keeping my back a little arched. And then suck it in. Arch. And bring it back in. Arching. And bring it back in. Now we're going to do one more of the same exact, in an elbow stand, but you're going to try to bring your butt to the wall and bring it back. So it's almost butt to the wall, but it's butt to the wall and down. Butt to the wall and down, okay? It's easier for me to show you. Same thing. Kick, reach. I like to bend my knees and bring it down. And it doesn't have to touch the wall. So bring it down and to the wall. Good. And that's a shoulder and a back stretch. You should feel it pretty much the same in both. There's one more thing for the wall that you can do, and it's just walking up and down. So you want to start, actually it's up to you. As if you would feel more comfortable going out further, you feel it less. The closer in you get, the more stretch you feel. I'm just going to stand about here. So you want to reach towards the wall and then walk it down, pushing away from the wall. So try to keep most of your weight on your feet and not face to the wall. So keep it here, pushing. So if you feel a stretch here and you don't want to go any further down, just walk it back up. That's okay. To here, and then bring it back down. If you'd like to walk it all the way down, and then push. Walk it back up. Remember keeping the weight on your feet and pushing all the way back and walk it all the way back up. Good, and that's about it for the wall. So then I come to the mat, and I like to go to elbow stand before I jump into a handstand because it feels the same on my back. So whatever position I'm going to do in a handstand, I would try to figure it out in an elbow stand before the handstand. So I'm just going to do the straight arch, and then you can try to play with it, see what position you want, and then once you kind of have that feeling like, okay, this is how I hold this position, it would be super easy. It's just much easier for you to transition into a handstand. So elbow stand, jump into it however you'd like. Same thing, looking up. And bringing it down, wherever you feel comfortable. And then you can bend. If you feel here is better, hold it here. The more control, the slower you go, the easier it is for you to control. I was a little fast in that one, and here is also, it's challenging to go from feet together than it is from like a split and then rolling it, but you would have much more control in the long run by doing everything coming up feet together and then going to whatever position you need to go to. So I'm going to do it again, but I know there's a lot to think about. Look down, because if you were in a handstand, you kind of wouldn't be looking this way if your body's going that way. So it's the same. Think of this as kind of you're already in a handstand. So same thing. You can look either here or there, focusing on really what your back is telling you and what kind of position you want to hold, because there's so many variations once you kind of get the basics down. So do it again. So here, you can go from here to your arch, or here, whichever one you want. And then just hold and breathe. Good. So I do that like a few times until I know what pose I want in my head, and then I'd move to a chair. If you've never done an arch before, it's not scary, but it's just a different position. You know, instead of holding everything tight, you kind of want to keep everything tight and bend your body, which is weird. So I started on a chair, and you can really use anything, your bed, sofa, whatever you'd like. Pop into a bridge or a backbend on whatever is available. And then I'd open up my feet. I'd walk my hands in as far as they would go. I'd look up, and then I'd just bring it back. Look up, and bring it back. So notice how I'm transferring the weight onto my hands. Here, and then pointing your toes to try to take them off, and then just come back down after that. The longer you hold there, the easier it'll become. Just breathe, because I know it's like, you can kind of, you feel like you're suffocating a little bit, but once your muscles understand what you're trying to do, they will cooperate with you. So we're gonna do the same exact thing, and this time I'm gonna try to come up for a second, just a second, and then plop back down. Opening up my feet, walking my hands in as close or as far as I'd like, looking up, and coming back down. So now I'm going to try to hold for a second, and then plop back down. Also, if you don't feel comfortable walking over it, then you can also put your feet on the mat or on wherever and push up into your back bend. And it works the same way. Just have to walk a little further. 1 second, and come back down. And or lay back down, whichever you feel more comfortable with. And eventually the chair would have to go. So once you kind of feel that, it's the same thing. Hold it for a second, the next time hold it for 3 or 5. Straighten out your legs and bring it back down. Take everything super duper slow. It's a process. The wall should take you some time, the floor should take you some time. This should take you the most time until you're super duper comfortable, and then try it without it. So this time, I'm not going to use the chair anymore. And I will just do it on the ground. So the same thing. So just think about the same position that you took from the wall, elbow stand. Nothing should change. So it's all baby steps, and this is really a baby step from there. So once you have your handstand, I'm going to go from a middle split handstand, and then I'll arch over. And then I arch. And you can do whichever handstand that you'd prefer. And of course, you can always arch one way, use more of your back, you can use more of your shoulders by pushing your shoulders back. There's so many ways of doing it. This is just the way that fits best for me. But I like to switch up my positions, and there's so many different kinds of arches. bend one knee and it looks so different, and really play with it. And all these stretches can be really moved in so many different ways. So just really feel where you feel the stretches and kind of play with your body, because it tells you a lot. And this is how I found my arch, and I hope that you find yours.